Here we are once again on the Get Foxy show. Today's guest is Nicole Murphy. And Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time today out of your busy schedule because you are rocking and rolling, teaching yoga and doing Yamuna work.
Yeah, and I'm a Rossiter coach, and
Oh my
those
goodness,
all three are major.
that's huge stuff. And I wanted to have you on the show today because of this Yamuna facial work that you do. Now, there's a lot of people that aren't familiar with Yamuna. So would you kind of give us an overview of what that is or who that is? Maybe we should start there and then give us the details.
Okay, I can do that. Yamuna Zake is a person, and she lives in New York mostly, and she travels the world. And she developed a body logic, um, and that is, it's like the way I think about it, at least, is like deep tissue massage on major steroids. There's a lot of lengthening and stretching and bone stimulation, and the sessions can last like 2 hours. And the practitioner puts you over cushions and pillows and positions your body, and then massages, working very meticulously from the insertion to the origin, or I mean, from origin to insertion on each muscle, stimulating the bone as they go. And so that was how she started, is with this technique called body logic. And to teach her practitioners how to find these muscles from origin to insertion, she started having them use balls on their body so that they could first trace those muscles on their body before they went and worked on their clients. And while she was teaching that way, her practitioners were experiencing huge amounts of relief. And so she kind of thought, hey, I think this should be something too. So the ball work was born. And so from Body Logic came Yamuna Body Rolling. And she's been around for a long time. And this is like an example of one of the balls. They're really soft because they're made to penetrate in through the muscle to the bony attachment points, causing the bones to heal first, and then from there, tendons to release, and then from there, muscles to release. So it's kind of backwards from a lot of other modalities where we go muscle, tendon, maybe don't even think about bone. So that's what body rolling is. It came from Body Logic, which is still practiced all over the world. And then this facial work is just exactly that, only concentrated on the face. And so we use two balls for the face. One is this one, which is the pillow. You put your head on it when you lay down. And the other one is this little guy. And it's also very soft. And you use it on your face to stimulate the bone and the muscles in a very logical way. The reason that logical part of it is important is because other modalities, like even foam rolling, I foam roll all the time, but foam rolling can be very scattered in the way people do it. It's not necessarily logical, and it can leave you feeling scattered. But with this work, it's very logical, it's very calming to your nervous system, and your body really accepts it easily. So it's pretty awesome.
How exactly did you get into this work?
Being a Rossiter coach, so Rossiter is a pin and stretch technique and it was born from Rolfing. So we pin the tissue to the bone, and then the person moves very small movements, and which basically stretches the fascia, the muscles, all of these things. Some other Rossiter coaches heard about this Yamuna stuff, and they were using the balls on themselves, the Rossiter coaches, and applying those lessons that we learned in Yamuna body rolling. And it just really is very complementary, and it feels parallel to me. with what I do already in Rossiter, it feels like a really good thing to do to my body. And it feels like a really good parallel thing to show my clients. So I had, since we use our feet, I had chronically tight calves. And it's hard, as you know, as a professional, to go get work done, to take time off of your clients and go get work done for yourself. And to use these balls on myself was a really wonderful self-care technique that I could do so that I could continue to work on more people. So I was getting great relief in my calves and hamstrings. And in fact, I had knee pain at the time. It kind of took care of my knee pain. And so, the more I know, the more I want more, because it's just a wonderful, loving self-care technique. And I was already rolling on the foam roller, but the foam roller doesn't always feel loving. So it almost is a little rough.
I think that's an understatement. I think the last time I got on a foam roller, my vocabulary was expanded in a way that wasn't really appropriate for most venues.
That's right. I know. It brings everything out, unfortunately. But like I said, you can leave the foam roller feeling like somebody just kicked you, but you leave the Yamuna balls feeling relaxed and you feel more ready for whatever it is you're going up against. The balls are just they're very magical. And probably the biggest mistake people make when they first get on the ball is they want their balls to be hard, because I've heard from so many people, oh yeah, I roll on a lacrosse ball, or I roll on a golf ball. I've even heard a guy say recently. And that is doing trauma to those tissues, and your body can't relax into it. Your body almost hardens up against it. And so it's not as effective as these very soft balls when you can get on them and breathe and relax, and the tissues just totally relax. And then you do get to build sensitivity so that you can actually feel the bones also relaxing. It's very loving. It's very magical, really relaxing.
I think that's a beautiful way to go about treating the body.
Mm-hmm.
When you can allow your body to soften, as opposed to when I was a massage therapist doing a lot of massage work, there were a couple of ways I could go about doing things. And I could either, one, stick my elbow into a muscle and impose my will upon it until it finally gave up and relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I could gently place a hand softly on that muscle. And because of the softness and the warmth and the intention behind that placement, the body simply went, oh, that's not so bad. I'm just going to relax.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
Yamuna work seems to really focus on that sort
Mm-hmm.
of touch and
Yep.
softness in the body, and
You've
helping
got
the
it.
body release.
Yep.
I wanted to have you on the podcast because we're talking holistic health, which Yamuna definitely falls into that category, but also natural beauty because of this Yamuna facial work. You
Mm-hmm.
had, out of the blue, invited me to come check out this work, and I was like, okay, I'm curious. Let's check this out. And I've got the chance to receive this facial work from you, and I have to say, oh, so relaxing, so wonderful. I mean, you wouldn't think, or at least a person wouldn't think, by having someone roll a ball on their face would do much for you, but that's not true, is it? There's a lot of benefits to this, isn't there?
Yeah, the face sculpting specifically is really, it's very interesting to me because, as you know, and probably a lot of your listeners know this too, your muscles in your body mostly go from bone to bone. So they attach on one side of a joint, they usually cross a joint, and they they attach on the other side of the joint, and that's what moves the joint. So like this muscle comes up here and it goes down there and it moves your arm, right? But the muscles of your face, they might connect to fat. They might connect to your skin. They might connect from one muscle to another muscle. They might not even connect to bone at all. And that's really how your face is so expressive. And a lot of people who have wrinkles, for instance, it's because, or like sagging skin, like jowls or something, it's because those muscles are not participating. They're turned off, they're dull. And so when we kind of iron them out and stimulate the muscles, stimulate the bone, the muscles wake back up and the face goes back into its natural position. Or, you know, where people have this line here and everything's kind of squeezing in. A lot of times, the bones themselves are squeezing in towards the nose. And so when we can kind of smooth everything out, it really is, it gives people the effect of a natural facelift, not to mention you're stimulating circulation. So rather than get new collagen injections or something, you're plumping up what you already have. And so those fine lines are filled in really with hydration. And so a lot of the effects of aging are actually dehydration of the tissues. And so we're hydrating and stimulating and increasing circulation all the way around the face. So the beauty aspect is absolutely experienced. People get up and you can do half the face and look in the mirror, and people will look in the mirror and they're just astounded how the eye is more open and the skin is more smooth and the face is lifted on that side. Even maybe a whole ear could be lifted. It's really pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is good stuff. I know for me personally, especially having gone through Bell's palsy and having some of these muscles on the right side of my face somewhat atrophied, the opening that the ball rolling did on these muscles and pressing on the bone in a good way. I mean, it was very comfortable, very pleasurable to have that pressure and that stretch on these facial muscles that just don't get the opportunity to stretch in that way. I could feel such release and definitely more circulation in the tissue. And not only was my face relaxed, but also my neck. And I mean, it even went down into my shoulders where it was just like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
wow,
Isn't that
this is
amazing?
good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I actually had shoulder pain. I had been having shoulder pain for about a year, and I had been trying Rossiter and the other rolling techniques that I know, and massage, and I had been doing chiropractic, and I, done essential oils and rest and work it out more. I tried all these things, and it kind of just kept getting worse and worse. And when I went for this face certification, guess what stopped hurting? Like completely. My shoulder. It's totally better. And it absolutely was traced back into these muscles in my neck, which we also address. I mean, I showed you the two different balls. We get into the muscles of the neck with this smaller ball. It's smaller than the other Yamuna balls. There's lots of different balls, but these are the two that we use in the face and the neck. And it really affected my shoulder. I mean, it really is not just from a beauty aspect, but then it makes you feel prettier because you aren't hurting and you're not wincing when you do things, which is not a very pretty thing to do anyway.
Yes, it all connects.
Mm-hmm. I want to tell you one other thing about beauty. Oh shoot, I just lost it. What was it? Oh, that's right. When and this is not just my experience. Pretty much everybody I've worked with has had the same experience, which is really really interesting in itself. But when we iron out these muscles, and let's say someone has a habit of squinting their eyebrows together and they have the 11s there, When we roll out those muscles and we stimulate the bone around those muscles, the report from every single person is, wow, it's harder for me to squint. I almost don't even want to. And so the other interesting thing is that as we're ironing these fine lines out and these wrinkles, the habitual wrinkles are lessened. So, and then not only that, the habit of making that face, that common face that you always make, is lessened. And so practiced over time, so people can do this at home for themselves, or they can come in and I can do it for them. But practice over time, I can't help but think that those habitual expressions will not be so habitual. And then, as you were saying, everything's all connected. What if somebody's always scowling? And then the person who looks at them sees that scowl and they react with a scowl before any words are even shared. But now, what if this person is not scowling anymore, but they look happy and their eyes are open and they look receptive? Then the person talking to them is going to have more of an open-minded conversation than the scowl would have spurred. So I can't help but think that that is a possibility, and it's really exciting for me too.
Yes, this can have such implications on human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a blog a few months back and actually did a podcast on this subject of I hate using this term, but it's a popular term, resting bitch face.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
And that
we
person might just have a shoulder pain, who
yes,
knows?
there can be pain in the body that then refers up and it shows up in our face, but
Mm-hmm.
because we're making that kind of scowly expression, then that sends a message subconsciously and consciously to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, by receiving this work and allowing that musculature and that tissue to soften and reset, not only can it have an effect on your interpersonal communication, but also how you feel internally.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
big stuff.
Yeah, it is. Isn't that exciting? Don't you just love your job?
I do, and I can tell you love yours too.
I do. It's really exciting for me. It's really, and I tell you just another experience of mine. I have a client who is, she's worried and she's stressed out because her husband is sick. And he's going through cancer treatments, and she's not likely to go get a massage. She's not likely to go get adjusted or acupuncture or energy work, and all those things would be great for her, but she has come in and let me do this to her, and she's started doing it at night. And guess what is happening in her life? I mean, her husband is still sick, but she's calmer, she's more peaceful, she's sleeping better because she's taking some time to do some self-care. And it's her face softening is softening her heart, and she's not so scared and she's not so braced. And he's doing the best he can, and now she's doing the best she can. So that's a beautiful thing too. And it's really interesting to think that one little ball can do very much, but it really is, as you say, sometimes you set the intention to make yourself better in some way. And even if it is just beauty, you're feeling beautiful on the inside now, and you're projecting beauty out to everyone else. And that's love. And that's pretty amazing too.
Yes, indeed. So, what I'm hearing is that not only can someone come to you to receive the work, but you will also teach them. You can teach them how to do this work for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a basic class that I teach, and this is a workshop, so it's not a regular class that is every week, but so there's a basic face workshop. I'm teaching classes for eye tension and sinus headaches. And then I'm teaching another different concentration of jaw tension and neck complaints. which, as I said, and you even pointed out, go down beyond the neck. It goes down into the shoulders, even the back. I can't help, I know you know about this, but there's lines of fascia that go through your body, which connect all of your tissues, and it wraps your bones and it wraps your organs. But there's a line of fascia that connects above your ear, and it goes down very tightly inside your neck, and it goes into your organs. And that's your deep front line of fascia. I can't help but think that this ball working on this line, this little bit above the ear and down into the neck, I can't help but think that that line of fascia wouldn't even go beyond and soften organs. And when people have tight stomachs and painful, or, you know, the digestion is hard, or intercourse is hard, or they have problems with the bladder, incontinence, I can't help but think this wouldn't even go down even into that a little bit. So everything being connected, just like you say, it really is, the ripples move on and on and on and on, which is great.
Yes, everything, at least from my medicine's perspective, everything's connected. So most definitely. I'm curious to know, Nicole, what is your definition of Foxy? What does Foxy and being Foxy mean to Nicole?
I knew you were going to ask that. And the very first time we talked about it, this memory came up just front and center in my head. When I was about 4, I was in the car with my aunt, who was only 17 at the time. She was driving, and whether or not we had car seats, I don't know. Maybe they were invented, but I wasn't in one. And I was sitting in the front seat, you know, big bench seat of her car, and we pulled up to a light. And right next to us was this kid in a pickup truck with the ball cap. Remember the ball cap back then with the white, and it was blue in the back? And I climbed across her lap and I said, "Oh my goodness, what a fox." And of course, she, being only 17, was super embarrassed. So I was thinking about that memory and thinking, what about my mind at that time thought that kid was so foxy? And I honestly think it is that look of health, that look of young health that we're all aspiring towards all the time. That is Foxy, and that is what I think we're all aspiring towards. You know, we all want to look younger, we all want to look healthy. Healthy is sexy, and that's what it is to me. So I think as we take care of ourselves, we look healthier and we are more Foxy.
Is there somebody in your world right now that embodies that foxiness?
Well, I feel like you do. Look at yourself.
Well, thank you.
That was my first thought when I saw you across the room. I'm like, I gotta go meet that guy. He's got it going on. He knows what's important.
Well, I appreciate that. I definitely try to do the work. I mean, if I'm preaching it, I gotta be living it too. So
That's right.
that is
That's right.
definitely something I do my best for. How can people find out more about you and your work if they want to start learning more about Yamuna Rolling?
Okay, so I am in Loveland, Colorado, and my website is lovegraceyoga.com. Yamuna, as I mentioned at the very top, is still alive, and she's very busy on social media. She's very busy on her website, so you can go look at her videos on YouTube. You can find her on Facebook even. So it's pretty interesting to watch her because, as I said, she's been doing this for years, and you can just tell with every video she posts, and she posts a lot, she's still exploring and learning and excited about the work. So that's pretty cool too. And otherwise, people can always call me if they have questions. The number's on the website, and I would love to get together with people or have conversations over the phone, and I can make other recommendations too. There's some other online, what do they call that, where they make videos and it's, you subscribe. There are some subscription services that I know that some of my friends and mentors run, so I can give a shout out to them too if people call and ask.
Excellent. Well, I will put all the appropriate links on the show notes so that the listeners can find you.
Awesome.
And before we get out of here, Nicole, what's the one piece of advice that you would have for the Get Foxy show listeners on how to stay foxy?
I think the biggest piece of advice I have is to know that everything and everyone, even a rock you see on the road, is evolving. And at those moments when you feel stuck and you feel uninspired, you just remind yourself that you're still evolving. There's still more to do. You can still learn. You can still get healthier. You can still get foxier. Just keep on going.
Well, Nicole, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. And thank you so much for the work that you do, transforming lives and bodies and bringing more light and loveliness into the world.
Thank you. My pleasure. It makes me happy, makes me excited to be here.